Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, August 23rd, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. First up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the New York Yankees. Two lefties on the mound in this one, Kyle Freeland and Carlos Rodon. And Kyle Freeland's been better since returning from his injury and since the All-Star break, but he's actually been one of ththose starting pitchers, the rare starting pitchers that pitches better at Coors Field than on the road. So far this season, away from Coors, he's got an ERA above 8. And the last game at Coors Field against the Padres wasn't his best start. 5 earned runs, 8 base hits given up, and an 8-3 Rockies loss. And the Yankees are not amazing against left-handed pitching this season, but they do have a really good high walk rate and a low strikeout rate. And I think that could be an issue for Kyle Freeland. And I think with how well Rodon's pitched, in the second half of the season, it's tough to go against the Yankees in this one. I know they're a big favorite, but I'm still going to take the Yankees on the run line at home. Next up, the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We've got two lefties in this one as well, Andrew Abbott and Bailey Falter. And we had two teams that in the last 30 days, some solid numbers against left-handed pitching. Now, the Reds, it's more so with their power. They're hitting a lot of extra base hits against lefties. Their strikeout rate's pretty steep. The OPS is not the best, but the isolated power numbers some of the best in baseball. I think they can get to Falter for a few runs, potentially home runs, extra base hits early. And on the other side, Andrew Abbott, has recently not been the best. He's not in the best form right now. Gave up 4 runs in that last game. And when you look at the Pirates, they've been solid against left-handed pitching as well. So I think we could see a higher scoring game here. I think we could honestly see a back and forth kind of game where potentially we find some runs late in the game, maybe extra innings. And I think it's going to be a close one, but I'm going to go with the over here in the Reds-Pirates. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Hunter Brown and Albert Suarez are your starters. Two starting pitchers that are in great form right now. And if you took the month of April out of Hunter Brown's season, he would be a contender for the Cy Young right now and arguably the favorite. That's how bad that month of April was and how good he's been since. And he's got a sub-4 ERA on the season, but in April had an 11.84 ERA. In the month of August so far, a sub-2 ERA. He's got great strikeout numbers. He's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 6 of his last 7 starts. So he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball the last few months. Suarez is also great form right now. He's given up no earned runs his last 3 games, but I still think Brown is a better option. And even though Suarez has pitched well recently, the Orioles are still 1-3 in his last 4 games, while Brown has been a really profitable option for Houston on the other side. So give me the Astros and the under in this one. Next up, we'll go to the Los Angeles Angels-Toronto Blue Jays matchup at the Rogers Center. No official starter for the Halos, but Chris Bassett should be going for Toronto. We talked about Bassett, who was originally supposed to go on Thursday, how he had a step in the right direction that last game against the Cubs. He's definitely not been his best recently, but I think he'll still be the better option in this game. And when you look at the lineups, I think the Blue Jays lineup has just been a lot more competitive in the last couple of weeks or so. Even in their losing efforts, they're still scoring some runs. And I think in a game like this, they'll have the advantage by the end of the game. So give me the Blue Jays on the money line. Next up, a great series interleague matchup between the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox. We got Ryan Nelson and Brian Bayo as your starters. Two teams that had pretty slow starts of the year. I mean, the Red Sox were right around 500 for most of the first half, but the Diamondbacks, we know, they've just been so strong in the second half of the season. Now 16 games above 500 overall, and still a solid road team, 5 games above 500 on the road. The Red Sox have been a great road team, but not so much at Fenway Park, where they're 3 games below 500. Brian Bayo, 4.8 ERA this season. I've mentioned, it's been an inconsistent season for him. He's been a profitable option, so that's always good, winning games for the Red Sox, but he's given up some sharp contact this year, and he's given up at least 1 home run in 4 of his last 5 starts. Now, the Red Sox have won all 5 of those games, but Ryan Nelson, on the other side, is also in great form for Arizona. He's been a very profitable option for the Diamondbacks, and, after a pretty rough start to his season, he has been one of the better pitchers in the National League in the second half of the year. For me, I think Nelson's the better option in this game. I think the Diamondbacks, especially when you look at their numbers against right-handed pitching in the last month, both of these teams are right up there, but I trust the Diamondbacks lineup a little bit more right now, and also their bullpen as well. So give me Arizona in this game on the money line. Next up, we'll go to Lone Depot as the Marlins take on the Cubs. We got Kyle Hendricks and Max Meyer as your starters. I mentioned I haven't really loved Kyle Hendricks as a starting pitcher this year, but recently he's been a lot better. He's given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts. And I think that he'll be the better option in this game. And when you look at Max Meyer, he has struggled recently, giving up 4+ runs in 4 straight games. and the Marlins are 1-3 in those ball games. And also, Lone Depot Park is mostly considered a pitcher-friendly ballpark, but there's been some high-scoring games with the Marlins at home recently, so I could see an over in this one, but I'll lean towards the Cubs on the money line as well. Next up, the Rangers and the Guardians. We've got Nathan Eovaldi and Tanner Bybee as the starters. Now, Nathan Eovaldi's given up 3 earned runs or more in his last 4 games, and a couple of those were quality starts, but not usually good enough for a Rangers win because this Rangers offense has struggled, especially against right-handed pitching this season, and now the Rangers are 0-3 in Eovaldi's last 3 games. It's tough to go against the Guardians in this one. I mean, Bybee's pitching really well. He's in great form. He has not been as good at Progressive Field as he's been on the road, but I still think he's the better option in this game by a pretty good margin. And then the big advantage the Guardians have at the end of this game is their bullpen. Arguably a top 5 bullpen in baseball going up against a bottom 5, bottom 10 bullpen in baseball. So I think Cleveland's got the advantage. I'm going to go with the Guardians in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the Atlanta Braves. We got Chris Sale and Mackenzie Gore on the mound. Mackenzie Gore had a pretty good start to the season, but since then, his last few starts, I'd say 5 to 10 starts, just not as effective. At a 4.66 ERA now on the year, giving up 4+ runs in 3 of his last 5 games. The Nationals are 1-3 in his last 4 games. And the Braves, they've hit lefties very well in the last month. They're top 5 in OPS against southpaws. And Chris Sale, now the favorite to win the NL Cy Young. He's been a profitable option. He's got a 14-3 record, 2.62 ERA. He's in great form, striking out guys left and right. Give me the Braves in this one, laying the 1.5 runs on the run line. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Chicago White Sox. Kiter Montero and Chris Flexen are your starters. Now, I can't go against a streak in this one. The White Sox have lost every Chris Flexen start since May 8th. And, even though I think that this would be a more realistic chance for the White Sox to break that streak facing Montero, he's got that ERA above 5. I still think, he's in a nice start in the last game against the Yankees of all teams. 5 innings of shutout ball and a 4-0 Tigers win. They've won his last 3 games, so he's in decent form. And I just got to continue to fade Flexen on the mound with the White Sox. They've only won 2 of his games all season, both of those against Tampa Bay Rays at the beginning of the year. And while he's faced some tough matchups more recently, I still think this is not a good enough matchup for me to take a chance. So give me the Tigers on the money line. Next up, an interleague matchup between the Phillies and the Royals. We got Taijuan Walker and Michael Wacha on the mound. And another game where I'm going to continue to fade Taijuan Walker and the Phillies. I mean, he has just not been a great option recently. His first couple of games back from injury, giving up in 8 2/3 against the Marlins and Nationals. Not great lineups. 6 earned runs and 3 home runs and 2 losses for the Phillies. They've lost his last 5 games. And when you look at the Royals, they've been pretty solid offensively at Kauffman Stadium this year. You got Michael Wacha on the other side for KC. He's in great form. While I do expect some regression going forward, I mean, he's 10-6 with a 3.3 ERA. He's been a nice pickup for the Royals this season. And the Phillies have been pretty dreadful against right-handed pitching in the last month. They had a pretty lousy series against the Braves offensively. And I think Wacha can go 5-6 strong innings. Don't love this Royals bullpen, but the Phillies bullpen's been rather inconsistent in the last month or so, or since the All-Star break. So I'm going to go with the Royals in this game on the money line. Next up, another interleague matchup between the Twins and the Cardinals. We've got Andre Pallante and David Festa on the mound. And, Andre Pallante is pitching well in his last couple of games, but the Cardinals are still 1-4 in his last 5 starts. While David Festa, look at his ERA at 4.96 overall this year. It doesn't look great, but he's been a completely different pitcher recently. He's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in all 5 of his last 5 games. His strikeout numbers are improving. The control's getting better. He's only given up 1 home run in his last 3 starts combined. I trust him and the Twins lineup a lot more in this game, and even the Twins bullpen. I'm going to roll with the Minnesota Twins, who are right now in the mix in the AL wildcard race and the AL Central race. Give me the Twins in this one. Next up, the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Oakland Athletics. We got J.P. Sears and Aaron Savale on the mound. And for me, it's tough to go against J.P. Sears and the A's in this one. I mean, he's in great form. 7+ innings his last 4 starts, and 3 earned runs or fewer in all 4 of those games. The A's were 3-1 in those 4 games. And Aaron Savale's not been great on the road this season. He's got an ERA above 6. The Brewers have not been the best against left-handed pitching in the last month, right around, I think, 18th in WRC+. So I got to go with the Oakland Athletics in this game on the money line. I think their bullpen's been pitching well. Give me the A's in this one. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the San Diego Padres. We got Paul Blackburn and Joe Musgrove on the mound. Joe Musgrove, since returning from injury, has been pretty solid. I mean, his first game, I was a little bit worried because he only had 1 strikeout in about 4 innings. But next game against the Rockies at Coors Field, puts up 6 Ks and 4 1/3 of one-run ball at Coors. You'll take that all day long. So Musgrove's in good form now, returning from injury. You got a strong Padres lineup against right-handed pitching, a strong Padres bullpen that in the last month you could argue the best bullpen in baseball. Now, Paul Blackburn bounced back in his last game against the Marlins, but that's a pretty weak lineup. It's a much tougher matchup here at San Diego. He's been pitching well overall with the Mets, but he's also faced a really weak strength of schedule. The Angels, Rockies, A's, and Marlins. I think this is going to be the toughest game by far for him with the New York Mets, and I like the Padres in this one on the money line and run line. Next up, the San Francisco Giants taking on the Seattle Mariners. We're going to see Hayden Birdsong and Luis Castillo on the mound. Now, Birdsong, a step in the right direction for him in that last game against Oakland, but he still wasn't able to get through 5 innings. His control was off a little bit. The pitch count went up early. And, I could see the Mariners, while they've not been a great lineup, or especially a consistent lineup in the last month against right-handed pitching, I still could see them getting to Birdsong for a few runs, and they do have some power in that lineup. I could see him getting a home run or two. Birdsong has struggled giving up some sharp contact in his last 3-4 starts or so. And, Luis Castillo's pitched well at T-Mobile Park this season. His last start wasn't his best, but that was on the road. I think he bounces back in this game. I think he does enough for the Mariners to find a win. Give me Seattle on the money line at T-Mobile Park. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers, the final game for the Friday card in Major League Baseball. No official starter for Tampa Bay, but Bobby Miller should be going for LA. Now, it's been a small sample size, right around 30 innings or so, but it just hasn't been a great season for Bobby Miller thus far, with an ERA above 8, giving up 9 home runs in those 33 innings, and less than a strikeout printing to go with it. The control's also been off, and he made his first start back from injury in that game against the Cardinals. It was on August 17th. Ended up being a Dodgers loss, and he gave up 4 earned runs, 2 home runs, and 8 base hits, and only 4 2/3. For me, while the Rays' offense has not been great against right-handed pitching, I still think it's just tough to back Bobby Miller in this game. I'm going to go with the Rays in the first 5 innings. You can take them on the money line or plus a half a run, but give me Tampa Bay in the first 5. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Put those baseball picks in the comment section below. And again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.